We are live.
We are live, right? So, namaste everyone and good evening. Welcome to this series, web series, the first of the web series. It's called Friday Awakenings. It has roots from more than 1 year, and usually, the roots are awakening with scriptures. That was the beginning, and from there, the spirituality group has grown up into a big and a massive force actually, and it's called Task Force now, Spirituality and Mental Health Task Force. And as a part of that task force, we are planning to run a series of webinars. And today, being a very auspicious day, July 9th, Saturday, we would like to start the first webinar with Dr. B.N. Ramesh Garu. He is the Director General of Police in West Bengal. Now, he is the speaker today, and I would welcome Dr. Avdesh Sharma ji. He is the chairperson for the World Psychiatric Association Spirituality and Religious Task Force. Namaste, sir. Now I welcome our chairperson, Dr. Afzal Javed. Dr. Javed is the president of World Psychiatric Association. I also welcome Dr. Gautam Saha Dada. He is the president of Indian Psychiatric Society. Namaste, sir.
Thank you, Naraj.
Now I welcome Dr. G. Prasad Rao Garu. He is the incoming president of Asian Federation of Psychiatric Associations. There are other very important prominent people who have joined. Dr. Jaisuk Palmer is the EC member, Dr. Anita Gautam as well. So there are many dignitaries who have come and have graced this occasion actually. We are very thankful for them for taking out their time. And I think 9 o'clock to 10 o'clock is an ideal time. It's a post-dinner time. So I hope it won't interfere with the dinner of anyone in India, the time. So, yes. Now, at the beginning, I would introduce Dr. Sharma, Avdesh Sharma ji. So, he's the spirituality chairperson. So, can I have his CV on the... Yes. So, Dr. Avdesh Sharma is the chairperson, World Psychiatric Section on Religion and Spirituality and Psychiatry. He has been the international lead on public education for the World Psychiatric Association. He's an advisor, Spirituality and Mental Health Task Force in Indian Psychiatric Society, International Distinguished Fellow of American Psychiatric Association, past President of Indian Association of Private Psychiatry, Indian Psychiatric Society North Zone. He's also a founder of Mind Vision Enterprises and managing trustee at Rahat Charitable Medical and Research Trust. He runs a television series called Man Ki Baat, Mind Watch, Mind Your Mind. And there are lots of other things that he does. He has over more than 1,000 presentations on stress, spirituality, and mind and body connection. He is the co-author of several books as well. The recipient of Gem of India and Rashtriya Gaurav Awards. So welcome, Dr. Avdesh Sharma ji. I would like you to kindly address the gathering with a few words. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Naresh. It's always a pleasure to be a part of the group. And also a bigger pleasure to have Dr. Afzal and Dr. Gautam Saha as the chairperson. I was looking back, it's been about 30 years since the Indian Psychiatric Society thought of creating this particular task force. Yeah. And since then, it has been going on year after year. Presidents have changed, ECs have changed, but the interest of the population hasn't. And I think one of the reasons is that most of us, when we come into the practice of mental health, we don't come in because we are fascinated by certain molecules. We are looking for healing the whole person. And in that context, you cannot help but think that beyond just the molecules and chemical changes that are happening in the brain, there is a personal dimension to the person who's there in front of you. And in case we are looking for beyond mental illness and into mental health, then you cannot let go of that dimension. And it's such a wonderful day because it is the first of the sessions on spirituality and mental health. And we thought of naming it Friday Awakenings. And in my mind, it was that Friday, in a way, also signifies the end of the working week for most people. And then in a way, it is also going within yourself for the next 2 days. call it vanprasth, call it sannyas. Actually, it should be a part of everyday waking reality. But if we are able to do that for 1 hour on Fridays, then we come out with awakenings, which could be the basis of new realities with which we start our day. And who else but Dr. Afzal Javed and Dr. Gautam Saha to be chairing this session? I have known Dr. Afzal for more than 2 decades now, and I haven't ever shared with him. But one of the things that touched me the most when I met him was his ability to connect with people on the ground. The work that he had done in Pakistan through Mountain House, after that in African countries, and the ability to empathize not only with other professionals but also with people on the ground. And then in the Middle East and in UK, his has been a journey of spirituality in action as a person, as a professional. Dr. Afzal Javed, very, very thankful for you to be a part of this journey that we are all taking forward. And we will not keep it at the level of Indian Psychiatric Society. We will take it to the level of WPA under your leadership. Dr. Gautam Saha, I am just flagging as a person whose humility, whose ability to, I've been in this profession for about 40 years. I've seen many IPS presidents come and go. But Gautam's ability to connect with almost everyone, young or old, and his ability to work in the community. I remember those photographs during COVID when he would be going out and distributing medicines, food packets uh, in the patients who were having COVID positivity. And that is spirituality in action. And his support to the whole section and the support of the whole EC, especially the office bearers, Dr. Raju, Dr. T.S.S. Rao, Dr. K.K. Mishra, Dr. Singh, and everyone else. And the influence of people like Prasad Rao, who over a period of time has also been a part of this journey and has in his own way contributed tremendously. I can't just thank and salute Dr. Rajshri Ray enough, and Dr. Naresh, and Dr. Praveer, and Dr. Kaushik. If you want to see how things will happen in the afterlife, as they in the Indian context talk about the concept of Swarg. Swarg is when you have people who are able to connect together and reach a higher level of living. And I think as one person, the whole team is able to rise to each and every occasion and everything else that we have taken part. So I would say thank you from this journey, and thank you to all the people who have joined today. I can't go name by name, but I can see some very, very senior people. So it is going to be a journey every 2 weeks. It's going to be a fortnightly affair, and we are going to come up with publications. We are going to come up with things which can be helpful to other professionals within and outside the country, as well as the population at large. Because coming from mental health professional, it would have a seal of how we need to go beyond not just the chemicals, not just therapy, but also taking the psyche and persona. Today, lastly, talking about the topic as it is today. I heard Dr. B.N. Ramesh on 20th of June. I was really impressed. His range of knowledge, his ability to integrate different aspects, and then being able to come out as a whole was tremendous. And the fact that he doesn't have a degree in mental health, but I think he has a degree in humanity. If not formal, I know he's a PhD, but I think his information has not only turned into knowledge, but has turned into wisdom. And for a topic like criminality and mental health, role of spirituality, I'm sure he will be talking more about it. But the fact is that there are criminal justice systems. where of course we know that across the world there is a very high morbidity, and unless we can help the person as a whole, you keep on sending them back into the cycle of criminality and poor mental health. And this dimension needs to be a part of any process of healing that would be there. And I'm sure Dr. Ramesh would enlighten us on that. And we would be able to start this journey not only about the criminal justice system, but also in some ways, those of us who promote inequality, those of us who are not able to help the society despite having the resources, are in many ways a part of that criminal system that is plaguing the world today. And if we can address that, I think we would be able to get rid of a lot of mental health issues that are plaguing the world over. So I hand it back to Dr. Naresh to take it forward. Thank you very much.
You're muted, Naresh.
Yeah. Right. Thank you, Dr. Avdesh Sharmaji, for those wonderful introductory remarks, welcome remarks, and introducing our speakers, our chairpersons as well. And now I would like to introduce our chairpersons. Can I have the CV of Dr. Afzal Javedji, who is the president of Indian Psychiatric Society, World Psychiatric Association. Yes, he's the president, World Psychiatric Association. He was a British Pakistani psychiatrist, professor, and author. He's a consultant psychiatrist and honorary professor, Institute of Applied Health and Research, University of Birmingham in UK, and clinical associate teacher at Warwick Medical School and University of Warwick, UK. He has served on the boards of several prolific organizations, including the Royal College of Psychiatrists, UK, World Association of Psychosocial Rehabilitation, and World Psychiatric Association. He is a member of several national and international associations and has organized multiple conferences in the field of psychiatry. Recipient of various national awards on mental health and has been featured in several media outlets for his work. He specializes in social and transcultural psychiatry, psychosocial rehabilitation, and schizophrenia. He has published 8 books and over 150 scientific papers and monographs on psychiatry. But apart from this, he is a wonderful person, very friendly, very approachable, and very what is called knowledgeable as well. So thank you, Dr. Afzal Javed, for accepting the request for being the chairperson for this session. I would like you to say a few words before I introduce the second chairperson. Right.
Well, thank you very much, Naresh. Dr. Gautam Saha, Dr. Prasad Rao, Avdesh Sharma, Praveen Varadkar, Dr. Kushek Chatterjee, and Rajshri Ray. This is indeed a pleasure and privilege to be among our friends. Actually, this is a first step of the spirituality, that you come and you share with those people who are your real friends and who are the good people to come and count whenever you are under stress. So you people are really the advocates of this important topic. And I'm so pleased that Indian Psychiatric Society is having very fruitful collaboration with WPA's section on religion and spirituality. It is just a very, very pleasant coincidence that the chair of the WPA section is from India, and India is a place that could really be considered as an important seat of learning for spirituality. Rajshri and her team and IPS have organized a number of meetings on yoga. This is something which the whole world wants to know from you. And this is the way you can lead the world, especially using spirituality and religion at the time of stress, during the disasters, and not only in the times of sorrows, but also during the times of joys. I'm pleased that you people have initiated this very important series. And I, on my personal behalf and on behalf of the World Psychiatric Association, congratulate you and would like to publicize this initiative to all our 145 member societies in 120 countries, because this is something which all of us must be doing at different levels, different regions. So all our support with you, and it is such a sort of a good opportunity to listen to a renowned civil servant who has got an interest towards the mental health. This is a rare sort of commodity, that a talented civil servant and somebody who is really working for the humanity. So I look forward listening to this great talk, and with all personal sort of gratitude, I thank you all and I welcome all the participants. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Afzal Javidji. I think that was a wonderful remark from you. And thank you for your offer of the support as well at the World Psychiatric Association. Now I would request the CV of our next chairperson, Dr. Gautam Saha. I mean, for us, Indian psychiatrists, he may not require any introduction because we know him very well for the last several years. He's the president of Indian Psychiatric Society. He did his MD Psychiatry from Calcutta University. He's the director of Clinic Brain Neuropsychiatric Institute and Research Center at Calcutta. He's a member World Psychiatric Association Standing Committee Scientific Section, Vice President of SARC Federation of Psychiatrists, Vice President cum President-elect of Indian Association of Geriatric Mental Health. He has many publications and national and international presentations as well. And above all this, again, he's a wonderful person, very approachable, even in the morning, 3 o'clock. Believe me, even in the morning at 3 o'clock, he's so approachable that yes, so he's a friendly person. He's like an elder brother as well for every one of us, the whole team. I mean, the moment we ask a request, he'll just say, never say no. So that's the kind of person he has. He's a big-hearted person. So I would request Dr. Gautam Saha to say a few words and introduce our speaker as well next.
Thank you, Bhai. It is one of the happiest moments for me, because when IPS is doing work, when IPS is vibrating, it is really get so much of happiness to me that it cannot be compared to any other. At the outset, I must thank to Professor Afzal Javed, the president of WPA, for being us today in spite of his busy schedule. And it is really great that as a human being, he is a topmost, and he always supported us like anything. Whenever, whatever Naresh Bhai is told about me, whenever we ask anything from WPA, Sir is always there, and Sir is supporting us like anything. Even in the time of pandemic, he supported, like he asked me what to do for India. Please let us know. We are ready for do that. That is a great thing from listening from WPA. And my special thanks to the committee chaired by Dr. Rajeshri Rai, my sister, my dada, Dr. Abdesh Sharma is advisor, my brother, Naresh Bhai, and Dr. Praveer as a convener. All of you have done wonderful job. And regarding the today's program, it was really great initiative. And as our WPA president suggested, if it is possible, you can tag to this program in collaboration with WPA, and whatever he suggested, like e-book on spirituality, we definitely will take this suggestion, and we'll go ahead with his suggestion and with his blessing. Now, I'm not taking much time because people are waiting to listen our speaker. Today's speaker is Dr. B.N. Ramesh, who was born on 15 July 1962 in the village Bapudi, Guntur, Andhra Pradesh. And he is an IPS officer joined Indian Police Service in 1988. He did his PhD from Institute of Technology, Kharagpur, West Bengal, and also his second PhD from the National Law University, Delhi, on the topic of cross-border merger and acquired comparative study of legal framework and procedure in India and the USA. But don't astonish that he also did a third PhD from JNU New Delhi. He did his post-graduation in different subjects like MBA from IIM Calcutta, LLM in corporate law from the Osmania University, Hyderabad, postdoctoral fellow from the Jawaharlal Nehru University, BTech in civil engineering, and certificate in Chinese language from Calcutta University, junior degree in Spanish language from RKM School of Social Sciences of Calcutta. And he is a fellow of National Police Academy, Ministry of Home Affairs, Government of India, avid marathon runner, cyclist, and swimmer, what not, with 100 completed marathons and 250-kilometer cycling competition. And numerous distinction, rewards, commendation, medals, appreciation in his career, follower of Adi Shankaracharya and the Chandrasekhar Azad. I don't know why to finish. There is a long list. So, sir, we are really proud of that you are being the first speaker of this series of programs. Thank you, sir, for being us. And over to Naresh Bhai, Dr. Naresh, please.
Thank you, Dr. Gautam Bhai, for a wonderful person we have here. From the CV, I can see that he's an amalgamation from Calcutta and Hyderabad, and so is this task force. I'm from Hyderabad and Rajeshri is from Calcutta. Now I request Dr. Rajeshri Ray to say a few words before the speaker starts his speech.
Thank you, Naresh Bhai, and a very good evening to everyone. As the moderator for tonight, I will just introduce this topic very briefly. How we have planned this evening is for Sir to talk to us for about 20 minutes, and then we will have some question round discussions, and we will have some interactions as well. This topic was really thought of because, as you see, it's a crux of three contexts that we brought together. One is spirituality, second is mental health, and the third is criminality. In their own merits, these three are very unique and independent topics in themselves. And the next 45 minutes, what we're trying to do is find out what is the common thread that ties these things up. Now, we know spirituality is now a globally acknowledged concept, though when we were to listen to Dr. Ramesh, we realized that, thousands of years ago, it was still a very globally acknowledged concept. How I see it is that spirituality involves the ways in which people fulfill what they hold to be the purpose of their lives. It is the search for the meaning of life, a sense of connectedness to the universe. The universality of this spirituality, it extends across creed and culture. It is very much personal at the same time. It is a unique experience. We can't just always define it, we've got to experience it. Though it sort of produces in us qualities of love, honesty, patience, tolerance, compassion, faith, hope. So here we are. There are lots of biological features that we can talk maybe another day in one of the webinars. But today's main aspect is to talk about the spiritual dimension, its importance in mental health, and then take it further on to talk about people who are probably a very critical, very, very core people in our society, the people who have been labeled as criminals. How did they come to acquire this label? It's such a sensitive label to live with. How we view them, especially for people who may have both a stigma of mental illness and a stigma of criminality. And today's esteemed speaker is none other than our very own person who has for 34 years has in-depth, first-hand experience, and he's going to bring with us and share this knowledge today. So less of theoretical discussions from my end and more to hear from Dr. Ramesh. Sir, over to you. For the first 20 minutes, we want to listen to you, and then we will carry on with the interactions. Thank you very much.
It's a great honor, my sister, Dr. Rajeshri Ray, Brother Naresh, and I hope I'm audible.
Yes, sir. Loud and clear.
Yes. And my guru, I call my guru Dr. Afzal Javed sir. We are all from the same part of the world once upon a time and will continue to be. And when I was following your CV, I was amazed because there are so many great people who stood their life as an example, an exemplary example to all the others to follow. Somebody from our neighboring country, Pakistan, going there and become a world-renowned psychiatrist. Our brother, Indian Psychiatric Association President, Dr. Saha, doing extraordinary work in this district headquarters, Barasat, and so is Naresh and so many other people, and Dr. Avdesh Sharma, whom I have met. I must have met him because I was the director of the Internal Security Academy at Mount Abu. So I first, at the beginning, I would like to pay my homage, my respects to all these great people, and I will just share my thoughts. It's not a lecture, but it's a great beginning, because unless we understand the mentality of a criminal, or we call it as criminality, we cannot produce a civic society which is peaceful, because 100,000 soldiers cannot control crime, which only the mother of a child can do to her child. So the parental control, the parental communication, the system at the origin, the spirituality, and the teaching of ethics are all part of the growth and personality development. With this premises, let me just trifurcate the topic: criminality, mental disorder or mental ill health, and the spirituality. When I'm talking to psychiatrists, eminent psychiatrists, I should not tell them about the PFC and then neurosurgery part of the serotonin, all that we're all knowing. Never I'm going to repeat anything that is already there in Google. What I'm going to tell is something of coming out of my own 34 years of journey of dealing with the one that is wrong in the society. We call crime. The word crime in Greek says accusation. The criminality is somebody who is being accused, and criminology is the study of that. The criminality is a propensity to commit a crime, to do something which is banned by the society, which is admonished by the society. Why people do that? Criminology studies it. We have so many theories about it. Let's not go into the theoretical part of it. I will only concentrate the physical aspects of it, in the sense, in the prehistoric times, we all started, as Homo sapiens book also mentions, when people were in small in number, there was some authority. So it was authority that always controlled the crime. But when two human beings come, their own selfish needs come. Selfish needs play an important role, because survival. When man grew from the cave life, and then code of conduct, we call it as Hammurabi conduct, or there were code of conducts even in the civilization and Mesopotamia civilization. There were, but the historical known codes of conduct, we can say, in the discussions of the Greeks before, when we talk of Aristotle or Socrates' ethics, virtues, wherein there were many discussions. Plato spoke about the criminality and punishment, which has to be humanitarian. Aristotle talked about virtues. Aristotle, we must not forget, is not only father of biology, he is also father of psychology to some extent, because he only told, unless we maintain the virtues, unless we have maintained the middle path, unless we maintain the moderation, we cannot have a society which is worth to be called a society, because man or a woman is basically a political or a social animal. So in order to make an animal into society, we need to have an order, and that order can only be self-generating. It can't be done only by the governments or authorities. So we need to have a conduct. So that's what Socrates said. That's what Aristotle said. Later on, we have so many things. Then the Roman Empire came. The Romans have their own slavery systems. They were their own systems, wherein the concept that then the Romans, the kings, and the encouragement, and then the wealthy people controlling, and then the Christianity came. Thomas Aquinas came, and then Thomas Aquinas and conducting of the God and the concept of God, religion came, and the control of the Pope, when the other things were some certain basic announced, were introduced in the penal systems, and the codification started. And of course, we have got the modern era. In the modern era, we have got the codification, which started with England, the father of the parliamentarian system, and later on it spread to America and the parts of Europe. We have got Therians, because the law also emerged when the society started coming. The law emerged, and the law, of course, has got the political aspects of it, the political philosophy, the psychology aspects of it, and the law, we know, social contract theory of Thomas Hobbes, who said the life is very short and brutish if it is left to its own. So people come into contact, they form a Leviathan, they form a state composed of 4 elements: people, sovereignty, government. So when people in the state, the society needs a state to maintain the order. The law came into picture. One seeks the maximum benefit to the maximum number of people. But if the law is according to the system, goes with the basic, then that law becomes despotic. And what is that human nature? Here we comes into the concept of the mental illness part of it. A human being is a human being which needs to be understood not from the point of the society only, as is also an individual. He is somebody's father, he is somebody's son, he is somebody's husband, or somebody's daughter, like that. He plays a role. And that role, when it comes into conflict with the role of expected from the society, somebody calls it as a crime. He may not call it as a crime. Supposing a person is fighting for his own tribe. The Britishers called many tribal leaders as anti-state, and they killed and they hanged. The history is, I stay in Mangal Pandey Udyan in Barakpur, that Mangal Pandey was hanged in 1857. They call it a Sipai mutiny. We Indians call it as the first war of Indian independence. So these things go on. Law and psychology, law and ethics are always according to what perspective you see it. I will not go into those concepts, those controversies. I will only stick to the point of an individual and his relation to society, because that's where the crime and the mental disorder comes into picture. Unless I'm happy individually, as an individual, as being a person who is playing a major role in society, I cannot be a contributor to the society. Become a wealthy, a very healthy individual in the society. A healthy individual in the society comes from the family. The family values, the ethics comes into picture. The role of the mother, the role of the father, and the role of the teacher. We in India, in the society, call it as Matru Deva Bhava, Pitru Deva Bhava, Acharya Deva. We also know that 2.5 years, by 2.5 years, that's why they call it as KG, kindergarten school. Most of the understanding of a child with an external environment almost gets completed when the formal education starts. So how do you make the child to be a happy child? An unhappy child, a rejected child, a dejected child, a child that do not have a happy motherly affection will definitely become somebody who is going to be a liability. And unwanted unhappiness becomes unwantedness. Rebellion comes into picture. In my 34 years of policing, I've seen many criminals, I've seen their origins, and I will just take few examples during the course of my sharing of my thoughts. Now, the inferiority complex that comes out, this inferiority complex, unwantedness complex, becomes a cumulative effect when the child becomes unwanted, when the child and the same child is pushed to a school, and there also he becomes an introvert. Ultimately leads to the violence in the society. So the criminality is not some a person he becomes youth. The criminality of hardcore criminals we have examined during
is
from the same parents. But the father, is there any problem?
Yeah, there's a slight connection issue, I think.
Okay.
So I mean, it was breaking up slightly, but now you're audible.
Okay. Now, there is Devar film in which two brothers, one becoming a villain and the other was a hero. Same family, but you see, and the same, I think all of you have seen the Devar film. Let me not go into that. There is an Agnipath system also, wherein the childhood makes a person a villain or a hero. The same thing happened with Dawood Ibrahims of the day. The same thing happened with Mehul Choski's or any other criminal, any white collar criminal and others. Now, when we take up the criminality in the society, we have got three important parts: criminal as per se, criminal in the society, and a psychopath. Now, criminal in the society are two types again: a white collar criminal and a blue collar criminal. A blue collar criminal is the one that becomes part of a mafia, who does arsons, who becomes a hired killer, who becomes a supari killer. A white collar criminal is the one that loots the banks or also indulges in corruption, becomes arms dealers like that, or drug dealers, drug peddlers like that, or even coffee posa, or the fellows who indulges in drugs and arms trade like that, or even foreign exchange trade like that, illegal foreign exchange trade. When it comes to individual criminals, somebody who does serial murders, these people have got a bioneurological disorders right from day one. We can prevent this individually. These people are also the persons who in US you see them taking at 14 years or 15 years, taking a gun and killing people. This criminality is definitely a failure on the part of the parents and the school systems, wherein we will not be able to have any empathetic learning. There is what's called, apart from IQ, there's what's called EQ, emotional quotient, where when the school systems, when the parental control is lacking, then this kind of tendency becomes a psychopathic tendency, which will ultimately become a very big hazard to the individual and through him to the society. Now let me come to the social criminals. The social criminals who just like that at the drop of a hat go and start a riot. What is their problem? This is normally not written in the books. Let me share with you my own examples, having dealt big law and order problems in Bengal as well as in Kashmir, as well as Maoist problems in India, in insurgency problems. The main reason is a dissatisfaction of a questioning mind by the society. When a question is not answered, a right question is not answered, then that unanswered question becomes illegitimacy of the administration. When the unanswered illegitimacy becomes institutionalized, I become a member of a banned organization. You call it Maoist, you call it mafia, you call it any other name. And these people become a menace to the society. And maximum problem with dealing with them is a kind of structural dealing of just automatic application of the law, automatic application of the sections of the law, section 302, section 299, because individuals are not sections of law. Every individual needs a customized treatment. So it's like supposing a person comes with a fever, you can't give a typhoid medicine to a malaria fever. That's where the failure of the criminal justice systems takes place. That's where the delay in this thing. And most of the times, unfortunately, some of the jails in the developing countries, so-called correctional homes in the developing countries, have become origins of corruption. There, a small criminal becomes a big criminal. This is also the big problem of the failure of the criminal justice system. The mental disorders, let me come. Mental disorder, corruption, for example, corruption is not a mental disorder. Corruption is not because of poverty. Corruption is not because of necessity. Corruption is a rebellion on the part of a person against the society. I have not seen a corrupt fellow be a poor person being a corrupt person. I have not seen, in fact, the farmers of this country, the farmers of my country pay back their loans. They commit suicide because a bank notice comes to them, they're not able to pay. And Mehul Choski's and Nirav Modi's, they run with crores of rupees. They're very rich. So the question of rich and poor linked to corruption or crime is something which is related to not to poverty, not to paucity, but of a person. And not all rich people are corrupt. There are extraordinarily rich people who are extremely honest. So the corruption as a social crime is something which deals with individual dissatisfaction of society that needs to be addressed by the schools, by the government agencies, by also by the organizations with which these individuals deal with. So let me come to the last part of it, spirituality. Where the spirituality? I don't call spirituality as spirituality. I call it as, I gave a new name today. It's called neuropsychiatric self-correction. Neuropsychiatric self-correction. When I love myself, then only I can love the world. If I'm not happy, I will only disperse my unhappiness to the world. I need to be happy. I need to love myself. Those who cannot respect themselves, they don't know the concept of respect. I'm sure all of those who are in front of me today, right from Abdul Javed Saab to Rajeshri Ray to everyone, are very happy persons. If you are not happy, you would not have been today at this point of time when the rest of the world is in their own private parties. Because we are all tied up with a cause to serve the society. Because we are happy, we want to see others happy. So it is like a contagious, not a disease, but a contagious non-disease, happiness. So we must promote that happiness. So that happiness is one that I call it as spirituality. And what is that spirituality? The role of the spirituality. Of course, there are some people who are born nice. Even if they are kept in the worst of the situations, they become best of the people. Maybe there is, I don't have any empirical proof to say that past life's karma comes and plays a role. I don't have an empirical proof. I may believe in the same, but I don't have empirical proof, I will not speak. But the genes have a role to play. This much I can tell, because there are studies which prove that there are certain types of, neurobiological reactions that happen in the brain. Chemical reactions are, extra serotonin, extra enzymes that are there, or even testosterone, this thing, that extra masculinity, Y chromosome being extra. These kind of things play a role in criminality, a role in aggressiveness. That aggressiveness, when it is not used, for example, there are some children who have that HDOD, ADPD kind of thing, attention, basic attention. If you don't address it, these people are most likely to become criminals. There is a recent study, which is a longitudinal study, which proves that the same criminal will come recidivist. He will come back, he will go back, and go back, because you have not addressed him properly. Paracetamol can only reduce the temperature unless you address the problem. Medicine, the symptoms, the merely cleaning symptom, indeed, attention is not going to solve the problem. So spirituality is the real solution, in the sense, because it's the and it's the mind where we need to address. So mindfulness and make loving the mind, because mind and body are the same individual. And what is that connects the mind and the body? The love for me, the love for my mind, the love for my body, and through that, the love for the world. And how do you do that? It's a kind of calibration that, yes, today I'm good, tomorrow I need to be good, day after tomorrow also I need to be good. A constant self-training. Unless you go on to the gym every day, your muscles will rebel against you. Unless you detoxify yourself, your mind will rebel against you. So if you don't drink water enough, your body will rebel against you. So these are all the symbols. And these symbols only need to be put into a system by the schools. There were Gurukulas in the country, in India, and in our neighboring country, in Pakistan also. There were systems. And I worked with Kashmir. I know there are Yatim Khanas in Kashmir, which used to take care of the victims of the terrorist crimes and any kind of crime. That system is there in this country for thousands of years. You call it Yatim Khana, you call it Anadha Ashray, you call it anything. Unfortunately, when the structure comes in the name of governments, and when the governments are not able to do the proper job, then there will be corruption, then there will be issues. So society cannot make everything related on the government. Society needs to take its own care. I don't call it a NGOs. I will call them as new governmental organizations.
And please switch off your audios here and your videos if you're not speaking or part of the committee. Thank you.
Yes. So my last point today, I would like to, I think I will not cross time. I'll just take one more minute. The NGOs are the new governmental organizations. Let me define what is government. Government is not merely the one that we elect an MLA or MP. You and I, me are also part of government. Whichever does a good thing is called government. Whichever is godly is government. Ramakrishna Mission is a government. Missionaries of Charity is a government. Tirumala Tirupati Devasthanam is a government. World Psychiatric Organization, World Psychiatric Society is a government. Whichever does a good thing is a government. We need a good platform wherein all these great institutions, great individuals will come together, self-calibrate, get institutions and icons. For every Nirav Modi and Mehul Choksi or Daudi Prem, we must have great people like Dr. M.S. Sridharan, or somebody who became the railway minister yesterday in India, an IAS officer who is from Stanford University. So these are all the examples wherein if you are a correct man, if you are a correct man, always salutes you. Last point I would like to say, caution. Sir, Dr. Ray, do I have time? Do I have time?
Sir, there is a lot of time. Please take your time, sir. And also, Dr. Javed is trying to ensure that he can stay with us as long as possible. So kindly take your time, sir. Thank you.
I'll just have 2 minutes, 2 minutes.
No rush, sir. Please, sir. Please continue.
Now, the maximum effort that needs to be done is from the parents themselves. They cannot make the society or the schools responsible for their children's behavior. Unfortunately, the consumerism of the society today, because even if you win a rat race, you are still a rat at the end of the day. So the rat race needs to be controlled right from at the beginning of the families. So what we are doing, we are in the name of society, we are making all our students as parts of the East India Company. We are throwing them to engineering and medicine as if the rest of the careers are not there, and only engineers. So my point is this consumerism. And today I have a Mercedes Benz. Tomorrow I want to have something else, something better than that. And if your hands and legs are all right, you don't need a car. So this celebration of excellence in human endeavor, not through what your bank accounts, but your social accounts. But what kind of contribution, your credibility account, not your dollar or a pound or a rupee account. That should matter to the society. Lying is first. Lying means surrender to the consumerism, surrender to the so-called despotism, not questioning. So we must make our to be proficient, right people, not aping and not into the way they attend because of consumerism. Matru Devo, Pitru Devo Bhava, Acharya Devo Bhava. This Acharya is very, very important. Today, we are selling education. Education is not just to be freely available. Please permit me to say Finland, Norway, Sweden, and the Scandinavian countries are also the least corrupt, the most happiest, and the most free education societies in the world. The best education is there in Finland. Why? These three things go together. When the education becomes a commodity, you become East India Company. You only recruit people for fleecing their blood. When education becomes a free source, education means morality, ethics building character, not merely skills, not merely literacy. And third, most important, is governance, good governance. Good governance means making all things properly working. In other words, family, society, schools, and the government. All these three things, when they come together, and what is the government that does? The government that runs the National Medical Council correctly, the government that runs the psychiatric societies correctly, the government that makes the psychologists and the psychiatrists in the recruitment of the policemen, the army, and the judges correctly, so that you will prevent the wrong people becoming important, occupying the important positions. And lastly, in the correctional homes, there is a real correction, not corruption. That is the jails. We used to call them as jails. Jails should not be tortures, chambers of tortures. We have got a Hitler, we have got a Mussolini, we have also got a Nelson Mandela. Nelson Mandela should be the hero, not Hitler's. This must be drawn to the people's mind. And last, the youth should be given a major purpose in their life, not merely a Google employee or Big Four. There used to be a gang of four in China at one point of time. Today we only take a Big Four. No, the happiness comes not merely because which company you are working. What is important is how you are working, how you are doing a job. Even if I'm a Safai Karmachari, even if I am the least paid worker, how better I'm doing the work is important to me. That's why we must have a reward systems and a punishment systems exemplary in the society. Then only the spirituality can come. And to conclude, these kind of initiatives by World Psychiatric Society, many hospitals must be more in number, must bring the best people in the world together, and with single one voice, we must always say, salute good man and have sympathy for the bad man, make the bad man to be good by having a hug with him and a sympathy and a handshake. Thank you. Jai Hind. Vande Mataram. Jai Chandrasekhar Azad. Jai Adi Shankar.
Thank you, sir. Seriously, you made a very complicated topic sound so easy. Since the day we were thinking about this topic, I was scratching my head. I probably have some few more gray hairs since that few days, wondering how to bring these three topics together and trying to understand, the commonality and trying to convince people the commonality. And I guess you yourself, with Professor Javed and Dr. Shah and Dr. Sharma being here, I'm truly surprised. We are having about 300 people watching this program tonight. I've just got the data from the back, from Tech Dean. At 9 o'clock in Indian Standard Time, we have 300 people watching this program through different platforms. And I've been requested to request our audience to please start posting your questions in the meantime, so that we can start collating the questions and ask sir. But as an anchor, as a moderator, of course, I've got a lot of things to ask, but I'm very mindful. Professor Afzal Javed sir has to leave very, very shortly. He's really stretched it because he just couldn't stop in between. So, sir, Professor Javed sir, I will ask you to ask your question before we continue with the rest of the discussion. Over to you, sir.
Well, thank you very much. Let me first congratulate Dr. Ramesh. It's very difficult to see one psychiatrist, but he is now seeing almost more than 300 psychiatrists, which is really a difficult task. But we must be thankful to you for explaining this complex topic in such a normal and a very precise way that it really makes sense to look at different dimensions of criminality and how does it link with the mental health. I always say that we psychiatrists see three types of people: mad, bad, and sad. And I think you in your profession also see almost similar type of people. And in our practices and your practices, this is the depression, this is the stress, this is the sadness that actually affects and influences the whole personality. I'm sure one of your neighboring country, Bhutan, has rightly gone to that, what they call GNH, not GDP, GNH is gross national happiness. I think this is the message that we have to really make sure that we stick to those concepts which are the mother of all these criminalities, problems, and difficulties. So, sir, thank you very much. And I hope that I'm not asking too much from Indian Psychiatric Society. You must be invited to do a plenary in one of the Indian Psychiatric Society's meetings, where there is thousands of psychiatrists who would benefit from you.
Thank you, sir.
We are grateful to you, sir.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you for kind words. I will be in touch with you, sir. I will be your disciple for lifetime.
Well,
Thank you, sir.
yes,
Dr.
Gautam, do you want to say something?
Sir, yes, sir.
Please, Gautam, sir.
I think no words is sufficient for him today. He is, as usual, very fluent. Hello. Very fluent and very spontaneous. And he talked like one of the great orators. Sir, it is a great, and what, as Dr. Javed said, such a complicated issues you have explained in a very lucid languages. That is a great thing. And sir, what I am telling you, sometimes it is spirituality not only for the people needed for the criminal, those who have committed criminal activities, but also those who deal with this. So spirituality is needed for everybody. So you explain fantastically, and love to listen to you more and more. And definitely you will be with us. And fantastic. Thank you so much for being us today. And over to Rajesh, please, sir.
I am also the other IPS. The other IPS. So I'm wearing the badge. Yesterday, Gautam gave me this badge. So I'm not only this IPS, that IPS also. Thank you.
So you are part of this IPS as a family life member, sir. So there are a few questions which are coming in the chat box, and there are certain things we can talk. If we can take another 15 minutes of your time, Dr. Ramesh, will that be all right, sir? We have a question from Professor Rajagopal, who's asked, the taxonomy of criminals and the root cause analysis was very wonderfully explained, sir.
Your voice is very low.
Who, mine?
Yes.
Mine? Okay.
Yes.
So there's a question from Professor Rajagopal who says that the taxonomy of criminals and the root cause analysis was very wonderfully explained. Can you say that all corrupt people are criminals, but all criminals are not corrupt?
Well, it's a wonderful question. All corrupt people are criminals, but all criminals are not corrupt people. Well, I'll tell you the legal, because I'm also a lawyer. The law says there are two things in law when any crime. One is actus reus, the other one is mens rea. Mens rea means evil intention. Actus reus means act or knowledge. So mere intention is not punishable in law except when you want to wage a war on the state. Except that section in Indian law, no other mere intention is not a crime. But knowledge is a crime. So I cannot say not all criminals are corrupt people. Yes, corruption is a crime. Definitely there is no doubt, not all criminals may not be corrupt. Because certain times knowledge is there. My knowledge is that I'm committing a crime. I want to secure the life of my daughter or the chastity of my daughter, and I have to kill somebody who is attempting a rape. Maybe, yes, I may be tried for that. But I'm not a corrupt man. I agree with that. There's no doubt about that. But again, let me tell you, just merely accusing somebody as a corrupt man doesn't make him as a criminal person. We must have empathy. We must have a speedy criminal justice system which can go very deep into it. And last but not least is justice delayed is justice denied. Justice delayed means unnecessary trauma which you are giving. Let me just conclude by saying, I saw a very Kannada movie long back in which two persons fight a case for 20 years. The person who wins the case, the person who loses the case, weeps in the court itself. The person who wins the case goes to his house and weeps. Somebody asked, why you both wept? The person who has said, what all I gained in this case, I spent more than 10 times to the lawyers. So this is how it is. Justice delayed is justice denied, and hence mere accusation. I want a country, a society wherein there are no need of courts and there are no need of jails or correctional homes.
Thank you. I think your last comment reminds me of Edward Gibbon's a sort of a phrase from his monumental work, The Decline and Fall of the Roman Empire, when he says that, among other factors like higher taxes, the breakdown of family life, increased spending on armaments, and this mad craze that we are having now for pleasure, the single most important factor still remains for the disintegration of this empire is the decay of spiritual faith fading into a mere form, that we are losing touch and we are becoming impotent. We can't guide the people. So this particular thing of justice not being given to people. So it's not the other materialistic things that's going to be the crucial thing. If we want the society to live long, live lovely, have a beautiful life, we can all live. Whether we want to live like a decayed, rotten root or flourish like a flower is very much ingrained within us. There's a beautiful question, sir, if I can take that question now. It's come from Dr. Gurvinder Paul Singh, who asks, utilization of mindfulness intervention in criminality. So do you have any experience of this particular mode of mindfulness in your practical work in the last 34 years? So you're muted, sir.
Yes, I have. Let me just share one example. Exactly. I was then working as IG operations in Kashmir. We made an exemplary mindful behavior. I announced the day I joined that I have 36,000 clones and not a single crony. There were 36,000 men who were working for me. And I made it an exemplary behavior of my part, so I will be clean myself, and I ensure that. There was an incident wherein two of our staff went and plucked a few apples from one of the apple gardens of one of the local Kashmiri family. It was reported to me. I immediately saw to it that they are exemplarily punished and the compensation was given right then and there, and no police excesses, because this mindfulness means what? The mindfulness means walking the talk. That when once you stand for a value, you must demonstrate it not only to your men, not only to the people, but your men. Unless you satisfy the internal customers, you cannot satisfy your external customers. Who are your internal customers? Your staff and the people who are immediate in the vicinity of you. Reputations are made through that kind of word of mouth. So this kind of mindfulness of our own behavior made it, and so that people went. Last, one more example in Kashmir. The day I entered, people threw stones on my car and the lal batti of my vehicle was broken. Other people must have responded the other way around. They must have arrested or somebody even fired. Somebody must have fired also. What I did was, I called that boy. I congratulated the boy for his shooting skills. I said, will you play cricket with me? I said, yes, sir, I will. Next day, I started playing cricket with those boys. And we started Ashfaqullah Khan Memorial Cricket Tournament in Kashmir. You may ask me, why Ashfaqullah Khan? Because I said, my Ashfaqullah Khan gave his life for my country. This country belongs to all people. Ashfaqullah Khan is somebody whom every Kashmiri should feel proud. So Ashfaqullah Khan Memorial Cricket Tournament we played, and 150 cricket teams were made, and we gave first time a Ranji Trophy player from Kashmir in 2011. And I convinced the government to give me 20 lakhs of rupees, out of which I distributed 18.5 lakhs among all the teams. The 1.5 lakhs was meant for last day function. I requested Janab Omar Abdullah, who was very good friend of mine, he still is, sir, not to please take only Bisrali water. I am not going to give you any cake or something. Because if you eat cake, everyone will eat cake, 1.5 lakh will go. He said, fine. Then I brought 54 bicycles for the girl children. I requested the Chief Minister to give the 54 bicycles to the children. You may ask, sir, each cycle cost you 3,000. 1,50,000 means 30 cycles. Where the 4 cycles came? I said, because my vehicle was coming free from Jalandhar, so I requested the cycle owner, why don't you give me the 12,000 rupees as extra cost? Why don't you give me 4? Because my vehicle is coming empty. I will save the empty cost. This is the concern which people of Kashmir realized. And Janab Umar Abdullah stayed for 5 hours in that meeting. And he gave all the 54 bicycles to children. This is mindfulness, man. This is walking the talk. This is the concern. Is Desh mein, I will tell you one thing. You can befool 1,000 people for 1 hour. You can befool one man for 1,000 hours, but you can't befool all the 1,000 people for all the 1,000 hours. In my own way, I just copied what Abraham Lincoln said. Thank you, ma'am.
What a blessed evening we are having, sir. Though there are a few more questions coming from the audience, Ling, I think, may I request Dr. Avdesh, sir, who's been doing a lot of work for the last 40 years on mindfulness, to also make a comment on this. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Ashri. And Dr. Ramesh, in his own way, said something beautiful, that when you start becoming change from within, you may not feel the change. Others around you start seeing the change. You know, there has been a lot of talk about doing double-blind studies on spirituality, etc., etc. They are required. And yet, when you change, which means when you shift within you, in your consciousness, then you start bringing about a process of change, which he said beautifully in his own way about the example of Kashmir. And there is nothing that can stop us from the mental health fraternity or people like Dr. Ramesh from changing within. There is nothing in law or otherwise which says that I can't give a hug to my client, for example. Of course, keeping the boundaries in mind, or that I cannot show empathy. And once you start doing that, that's spirituality in action. But the question that Dr. Gurvinder asked, there have been plenty of studies which have specially taken mindfulness meditation especially, into the prisons. I remember Dr. Kiran Bedi, when she was in Tihar jail, she started the Vipassana experiment in Tihar. And there have been studies on that, and subsequently, the Pramukh Kumaris have been doing good work in jails, especially in Tihar, also in Mount Abu. I'm also told that Mata Amrita Nandamai has also been working with the jails, as has been Sadhguru. So there are already changes. And if you go back, you know, there was this beautiful movie called Do Aankhein Bara Haath, which is still there. You can watch it on the YouTube, which was all about that shift in bringing spirituality as an experiment into the jails. And it was a life-changing experience for people. And even now it is cited as one of the experiments that was carried out at that point of time. There are many of our colleagues who are working in jails, and they have found that going there and doing westernized CBT is not the answer in those situations. But what is required is principles of CBT in a spiritually augmented way. You bring about the principles that are there in a culture and you put it in the form of a CBT, and you bring about a change in the person. But most important is, and the key is, that you as a mental health professional is the one who delivers the intervention. It is not the intervention, but the one who's doing the intervention. And I think that shift has to happen within us.
May I just add one small point? So nicely articulated by Dr. Sharma. So nicely articulated by Dr. Sharma. See, I think all of us understand a little bit of Hindi. In Hindi, I wrote, "Jahan आंसू है, वहां आशुतोष है. दूसरा लोगों का आंसू हटाओ, आशुतोष तुम्हें खोजता है." In the sense, the tear of a fellow human being is an invitation of your change of heart. When somebody is in trouble, only then it comes to a doctor or a police officer. When somebody comes to you, don't see at his pocket, see into his heart. In his pocket, behind his pocket, there is a heart. See to that. Pocket will come. Fine. You also have a family. Fine. Don't be a pocket mar, heart mar. This is what is important. A small one-day dog also understands when you put it your hand. whether you are trying to kill it or whether you are trying to assuage it with a pyar. Pyar ka language, pyar has a universal language. The language of love is universal. You don't require an alphabet for love.
So, thank you. We will take a few more minutes of your time because there's a very a question dear to my heart come from Dr. Pranshu Agarwal. I've always thought that we are running behind technological gadgets, high-flying things. There's a race everywhere. But how do we convert our children? Being a mother who had to learn the skills of mothering, how to keep us grounded where you see the whole world is running around? This is a question that I've learned and talked and felt and experienced. But this question has come for yourself, sir. How can spirituality be made part of our lives and of our children from childhood itself and help them experience eternal happiness and prevent them from criminality? And how to deal with prisoners if we are psychiatrists visiting jails. There are quite a few parts to it, sir. So first of all, there's how to involve spirituality during our childhood, and how and if, how does it help us to remain happy, prevent criminal behaviors, and as a psychiatrist, what is our role when we visit our patients, as patients, as someone who relates to them from our heart?
Madam, are you asking me that question, ma'am, to answer?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Sir, the questions are for you, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Because they're such eminent psychiatrists, I hope I may not need a professional advice of them one day, thankfully. But let me tell you, ma'am, because see, when I was traveling the other day in air, I saw a young mother giving Apple iPad to her 1-year-old daughter, 1.5-year-old daughter, just to see that the daughter is kept away, engaged. The main issue is if the father and the mother are all engaged in gadgets, the child also will be going to the gadgets. The child knows by imitation. The child apes the father and the mother. If you want a healthy child, you have to sacrifice your own propensity to fall into the rat race. You don't be a rat, you be a cat. Let there be a cat race and a rat race. First is that. Second point, ma'am. The main point of treating the child is not giving the gadget. Of course, gadgets, of course, Python, of course, Java, all this are required. Coding is required. Everything is required. But there must be the purpose of that gadget. There must be the purpose of that work. Just because somebody is going to guitar class, I will also send my child to guitar. No, please understand what the child enjoys. Make the work less taxing. Make the work less hardworking. Make the work less smart working. Let there be no deception. The day you encourage the child in the name of smartness to copy of others, you are encouraging the child to be the first class Natwarlal in the days to come. Copying is the first step of thief and first step of dacoity, because you are doing a copyright violation. In other words, somebody else's intellectual property, you are robbing, you are trying to find out a cut-short solution. Cutthroat competition will always end in cutting all the throats. There will be no throat left. An eye for an eye makes everyone blind. So this must be a moderation, virtue. First of all, last point I would like to tell. Your children are not given birth by you. They do not come from you, they come through you. That's what Khalil Gibran told very nicely. So do not try to realize your unrealized dreams through your children. I want to become an IAS officer. I could not become, so my child will become. So I will put in n number of coaching institutions. That child will become one day, commit suicide also. Maybe. There are so many cases. This should not be there. If the child wants to become a chef, let him be the best chef in the world. But don't encourage the child, let me become the best thief in the world. That should not be the case. Because thief is punished by law. There is Naresh is there. Naresh will understand me, will find There is a Telugu film called Appu Chesi Pappu Kudu. In the sense, take all the loans and enjoy life. That's what the name. That's the name of the film. Must be some Bengali film also like that. In that, there is a beautiful, couplet. He says, I will sing that. Dongatanamu tappura dopidilu muppura dorikinanta pujesi mi sammelidi para means the theft is bad, dacoity is very risky. So take loans and swirl your mustache. That also, please don't make Vijay Malias and this thing. Don't take loans, don't go for consumments. Live on in your own means, stitch the cloth according to your size. That's what matters.
Sir, we do have one final question we will ask, but just before that, I would like to say thank you very, very much to Professor Afzal Javed sir for being with us. Has to really go now. And we'd all like to say thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Afzal sir. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Sir, it is very difficult to leave. Unfortunately, I had another meeting. I wish I could have known that I'm listening to such a beautiful and such a sort of a strong personality who will influence all of us. May you live long.
Thank you, sir.
Take
Bye.
care. Wish
Thank you,
good
sir.
health, sir. Thank you. Sir.
Thank you.
Dr. Ramesh sir, there's one final question for this evening from our guests tonight. It's from Dr. Uday Kumar, who says, regarding antisocial personality disorder patients and criminals, how do you as a police officer differentiate and manage them? Let's please be quick.
Very nice question. I must thank Dr. Uday Kumar for that. We have intelligence branch. The intelligence branch keeps information about small things also which happen out of blue. Somebody in a tea shop, you may not know that that man is an intelligence branch officer. He will be keeping an observation. About antisocial elements and those who create arson, who create when a traffic accident takes place, they will go and start beating the driver, or they will lynch people like that, or a communal riot, or when there is a loot, they will just go and loot all the shops and all these kind of antisocial elements. How do we differentiate? I'm telling you. There's what's called habitual offenders. We have got 36 records in the police station which analyzes the different personality traits of different people. I must appreciate British system for that, because British system of records were excellent. We may not have an Excel spreadsheet in 1860 when Indian Penal Code was brought, but it was almost like an Excel spreadsheet. When you go to a police station, you go and call for Khatyan Inspection Register. In the Khatyan Inspection Register, there are so many columns. And one such column has got history sheeters and questionable characters. So in a police station area, we all know who is what. And that's why I assure you, Dr. Uday Kumar, the day the Indian police or any police in the world, well-trained police, is given the freedom to work according to its professional standards, that day, there will be no crime, there will be no courts, there will be no criminals, there will be nothing to worry about the correctional homes. Because when a policeman is given the freedom to work, because the society gives the freedom. Yatha raja tadha praja, yatha praja tatha raja. You may ask a subsidiary question, sir, which prevents you from taking the freedom? Yes, I know. I'm answering that question. Yatha raja tadha praja, yatha praja tatha raja. You deserve the police, you get the police which you deserve. So naturally, when the police system works according to its real, blue book, according to its real professional ethics and standards, nothing wrong can happen. And today, with all these gadgets, with all this artificial intelligence, I'm able to speak to world audience from here. With this artificial intelligence, when a drone can come and deliver medicine to me in a desert, when Amazon can give me within 24 hours the best book in the world, when 300 muscles on my face can be analyzed by videography, video analytics, I don't require much of technology if I have the intention. And please give us the freedom. all the policemen, we request all the audience in the world, please give us the freedom to serve you, because we need that freedom to serve you better. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. There are a few things, but I think we have already crossed our time limit. Before handing it over to Dr. Badlamani, I would just say that today we've heard that certain aspects and attitudes of human nature and society, which contain the seeds and soil of crime and endeavor to apply the remedy, are very much there. Three factors which comes to my mind listening to sir today is, first of all, we consider greed. Whereas there's an acquisitive instinct is out of control. We just want to keep on acquiring. This motivates us towards crime. The second contributing factor, which I think is the dissatisfied greed, is the boredom after this comes. So the third thing is a sense of rejection. We just get very frustrated with our sad life not being very happy, and this feeling of rejection starts very early in childhood. This is something that the police themselves are not the only. They won't be able to manage this on their own. Like just like charity starts at home, this installation of spiritual belief, love for ourselves, love for our community, love for human beings, and in fact, being a truly adjusted person in this world, being aware of something in this world that is beyond comprehension, comes from the very day that we are born in our family. So it's everyone's responsibility to reduce crime in this society through many ways, and spirituality is probably one of the ways. It's not for us to argue whether it's the best way or the only way, but we guess it is the way. So let's look at it a little more deeply. Let's accept it as part of our lives in every day that we lead, and just think about it in helping others, just like it helped us. Yes, sir.
Let mother be the sub-inspector of police in her home, then there will be no criminals.
Let the mother be the sub-inspector of police in the homes.
Oh, there will be no, even the father will not dare to do any crime.
My husband calls me the Havildar at home.
You are not a Havildar. I want you to be super in the police.
So anyway, with that note, may I hand this over to Don Harish Bhai. Over to you, Harish Bhai.
Thank you, Dr. Rajeshwari. I think it was a wonderful discussion, questions, which was very stimulating. And not to undermine Dr. B.N. Ramesh sir, I think his talk was brilliant, touched every aspect of, say, spirituality a bit, mental health, as well as criminality. And this is the first time we are hearing the varieties of criminalities. So such a spectrum from rioting to corruption, to violence, to individual, say, criminals. So all kinds of varieties we have seen. And his experience, definitely his experience is so varied and it's so, exquisite that definitely he's the right person to deliver today's talk, criminality, mental health, and spirituality.
Absolutely.
Yes. And a couple of things about the spirituality, spiritual health, as well as spiritual practices. So how can they, say, what is called be utilized in prisons so that the criminals, the criminals are varied, starting from educated, uneducated, upper class, lower class, anyone as a criminal there, for some crimes or the other, given the purpose of life. So what is spirituality? It means that there is a purpose of life, whether to search within or to have some role in the society. So when that spiritual practice, the spiritual practices which include physical fitness, mental exercises, including meditation as part, social, say, health, as well as communication skills, or say their love for the family or the society, and say apart from that, the religious aspects like chanting or say even prayers to God or giving that devotion kind of a thing. There were examples in the past where these practices did help several prisoners to change their course. Prisoners, all need not be repeat offenders. There are people who are being impulsively stuck at one crime and then they keep repenting the whole life. But then some spirituality does help them to come out of that kind of guilt or shame, or say even mental illnesses like depressive illness, which is much more commoner in people with criminals. There are some prison studies, several prison studies wherein suicide was higher in in people with criminals. So the role of spirituality is evidence-based there, that it has helped several people post-prison to lead a healthy life without criminality. So I think that's a wonderful talk. And I would hand over it to Dr. Praveer to say the vote of thanks. Thank you, sir.
First and foremost, let me offer my salutation to Lord, the Almighty, for allowing me not only to witness and experience, but to be a part of unfolding of His glory. On behalf of Spirituality and Mental Health Task Force of IPS, let me propose the vote of thanks. Globally, mental health professionals have started recognizing and imbibing in their clinical practice the role of spirituality. Today's webinar is a proof of it, where World Psychiatric Association President Professor Afzal Javed and Indian Psychiatric Society President Dr. Gautam Shah agreed to chair the session. We are so thankful to them. Their active participation and endorsement will indeed have an impact on all mental health professionals and related people in coming days. The Spirituality and Mental Health Task Force of IPS is indeed grateful for both the chairperson. We are today truly blessed and thankful to our esteemed guest speaker, Dr. B.N. Ramesh, DIG of West Bengal, for providing practical clues and tips to deal with our patients with a criminal intent and how to positively reinforce them toward the normalcy. At the same time, I express my gratitude and thanks to our advisor, Dr. Avdesh Sharma, for guiding us, encouraging us. He has been there as a torchbearer in this field for a very, very long time. We are also thankful to our ever enthusiastic and super energetic chairperson of Spiritual and Mental Health Task Force of IPS, Dr. Rashri Ray, for moderating this session. She is going to be a trendsetter in the field of spirituality and psychiatry in coming days. Equally complementing her today is our Spiritual and Mental Health Task Force IPS co-chair, Dr. Naresh Bhai, for anchoring today's webinar. I acknowledge his dedication and hard work for the success of the program. At the end, again, I thank President IPS, Dr. Gautam Shah, and entire team of the IPS for giving us the platform and starting this Friday awakening. The spirituality and the mental health task force is truly thankful for all of us. From all of us, thank you to the team. And hence, now
Educational sponsors, Ravi Bhai, Sipla.
Thank you, Dr. Praveer, also for
Thank you,
active
Dr.
participation. Thank you, Dr.
There are
Can
many
I
seniors who
just
have
add
joined
something?
here today. Dr. G. Prasad Rao sir has joined, Dr. Abhay Kumar,
Yeah.
Dr. Guruvinder Pal, Dr. Mukesh Jagiwala, Dr. Kuldeep Kaulji, Dr. Jaisuk Parmar. So all these people are, they're seniors, they have joined this session and they have stayed awake till 10:30 in the night. Thank everyone.
Can I just add one thing, Naresh?
Yes.
You know, when there is the right intent, things happen. For long, people have said that pharmaceutical industry comes forward only when they have something to gain. They have some molecule to sell. My experience has been that we have had so many sponsors across the board. Today it is Cipla, sometime it may be somebody else, who are not here to sell a medicine, who are here for the cause of spirituality.
Hooray.
And I think that is a great force for it.
Yes,
Yes,
sir. And
anyone else who
Sipla
wants
will
to
be with
talk
us.
for a few words?
Sorry,
Dr.
just
Gautam
to say,
Shah.
Sipla will be with us for this whole of this seminar series for 6 months. Thank you for this one.
Any final words from anyone?
Yes.
Dr.
Yes, Dr.
Prasad
B.N.
Rao,
Ramesh,
sir,
sir.
Dr. Anita, ma'am.
Sir, Dr. B.N. Ramesh, sir, please.
I just want to thank all of you. I learned a lot from those who posed questions and much more from those who did not pose a question of their silence. And I'm extremely thankful to Naresh Bhai, my sister Rajeshri, and Gautamji, Ajit sir, and all those people who came and watched. So many great, psychiatrists. I'm very happy to know all of you, and I'll continue this journey with all of you, I promise. And I am also announcing today to all of you, all of my sisters and brothers, that whenever you require any assistance from me, just kindly give me a call. I will be there at your.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Naresh bhai, any of
Okay.
our seniors would like to say anything?
Any of the seniors, Dr. G. Prasad Rao sir, or anyone who wants to say a few words?
Was nicely organized
Dr.
and
Mukesh
nicely,
Jaggiwala, sir.
yeah,
Oh, he has muted himself. Dr. Mukesh Jaggiwala.
yeah, yeah. Thank you
Please
very much.
unmute, Mukeshji.
Yeah, I have all.
Boliye, sir. We are able to hear. Oh, no. You have gone mute again, sir. Dr. Mukesh Jaggiwala, sir. Okay.
Kuldeep ji is also here.
Okay, then I think
Hello.
we'll wind up if no one has
Hello.
any question. Dr. Mukesh
Yes,
Jaggiwala, we were able to hear you.
Yeah. Thank you. So it was very nicely conducted and at the same time very good information. And even the person like me who may not believe a lot of things in the spirituality and yoga and other things, really I am also being tagged, and I really compliment and congratulate our Avdeshji and all the colleagues, Rajeshri, Nareshji.
That's fine. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for those fine words. If no one else has any, I think we'll close it.
Okay.
Naresh ji,
Dr.
I think.
Rajeshri, you want to say some closing
Yes,
words?
I just.
Or
Yeah,
Dr. Gautam Saha?
Yeah, I think Dr. Shah has arranged for something to be as a token. Colleagues from CIPLA will be sending it to Dr. Ramesh's residence very soon, just as a small mark to say thank you, sir.
Right.
It is from the team. Team Spiritual Psychiatry will send something to Dr. Ramesh.
So thank you, sir. I think it's already late. I think we'll wind up the session.
Yes, sir.
Right.
Please.
Thank
Have a
you.
good
Good night,
weekend.
everyone.
Thank you, technological team, tech team. You've done a superb job for us. So thank you for
And we
hosting this.
meet
Thank
2
you.
weeks later. We
Yes.
will announce the next topic. This is
The
going
coming
to
week
be
we'll
every
announce.
2 weeks affair, 2nd and 4th Friday.
Sure.
Thank you, Dada.
Good night, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you,
Thank you
Dr.
so much, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Bye. Good night, everybody. Good night.
Good
night,
Good
sir.
night, Naresh bhai. Good night, Dr. Prabhi.
Thank you.
And